Hey guys, we're back, and this time we're going to be talking about scenario 2. So scenario 2 says a tall yellow plant was crossed with another tall yellow plant. 9 of the offspring were yellow and tall, 3 were yellow and short, and 3 were green and tall. There was one that was short and green. I went ahead and I already listed out the traits and the dominant and recessive because that didn't change from scenario 1. So that's all the same. But what we're going to do now is we're going to start taking a look at the parent's genotype and we'll start with parent 1. So we have parent 1. And parent 1 says, oops, I scrolled too far. Parent 1 says a tall yellow plant. So parent 1 is tall and yellow. And parent 2, it says it was also crossed with another tall yellow plant. So parent 1 and 2 are both tall and yellow. But what gets interesting is this description of the offspring. So we have this huge description talking about how the offspring were yellow and tall, yellow and short, green and tall, and short and green. So we know based off that we have to be able to get a variety of different offspring from these parents. And so if parent 1 is tall and yellow and parent 2 is tall and yellow, if they were both homozygous dominant, then all of the offspring would be tall and yellow. But from our explanation here in the scenario, we know there aren't. So we're going to use that information and assume that both parents are heterozygous. That way we're able to get a variety of genotypes in the offspring. Okay, so now it says create a Punnett square to show the scenario. So I'm going to pause while I draw out the square. Okay, awesome. So now we have our square drawn. We are going to take some time and figure out how we're going to fill in those genotypes. Now, again, we're going to foil just like we did last time in scenario 1 in the last video, but this time our foiling is going to be a little different because we have this mixed up genotype. So we're going to start with our F, which is our first allele from each pair. So that's going to be a capital T and a capital Y. Then we're going to go to our O, which is the outside allele from each pair. Here, I'll label those so we can see that. And that's going to be a capital T and a lowercase y. And then we have an I, which is our inside allele from each pairing, which is a lowercase t and a capital Y. And then our L, which is our last allele from each pairing. So that's going to be a lowercase. Now, if we remember back to parent 1 and parent 2, their genotypes are the same. So we're going to copy these 4 combinations right down the side. So it's going to look identical on each side as we fill in these Punnett squares. Okay, there we go. Now what you're going to do is, again, you're going to distribute those genotypes throughout your squares, and we're going to always write that capital letter first. I'm going to pause here again while I fill in the Punnett square. Okay, perfect. So now that you're done filling in that Punnett square, you should be able to see hopefully something that looks a lot like this. Again, I tried to write those capital letters first, so that way it's nice and organized when you go to compare it back to your answers that they gave you. And here they said 9 of the offspring were yellow and tall. So we can go in and we can check. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to put a check mark by every offspring that is yellow and tall. Okay, great. So when I put that check mark by every offspring that was yellow and tall, we noticed that those are all the boxes that have both a capital T and a capital Y. And if I count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I got 9. And in my story, it does indeed say that 9 of the offspring were yellow and tall. The next thing it says is 3 were yellow and short. So I'm going to go ahead and put a circle by the 3 boxes that are yellow and short. Okay, so right here, we can see all 3 of those boxes are yellow and short. So again, we've got that capital Y with our 2 little t's showing short. The next thing it says is that we have 3 that were green and tall. So I'm going to do a triangle next to these 3 that are green and tall. Okay, these are a little bit harder to find, but we've got our triangle here, here, and here. Our green means we're going to have 2 little y's, and our tall meaning we have to have at least 1 capital T. And the very last thing it says is that 1 was short and green. So we find our short and green, and it's right here where we have our all recessive alleles, and that will finish up this dihybrid Punnett square.